Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well today. I was supposed to have a therapy session today, but there was misscheduling, and so I got my appointment canceled on me. So I'm here instead. I thought this would be a good way to make up for the lack of therapy today. Um, I am trying to find an angle in which I don't get this glare on my glasses, but it seems impossible. I don't know how people with glasses make videos. I don't know how they do it. It's either the screen is reflecting my glasses or the sunlight is. But I guess it's not really that important. We're here to talk and have discussions, not look into each other's eyes, even though we all know my eyes are beautiful. Oh god, I feel so dorky saying that. That's anyway. Um Sorry, I made myself embarrassed just now. You know this embarrassment's got to go up though. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this Kingdom Hearts project that we have been working on. Last time I left off right after the game 358 and a half days. And I was talking about how in high school I was put on drugs for the memories that I was dealing with. I was not expressing the memories or dealing with them, these traumatic memories, and so I was put on drugs. And then I got into a toxic friendship circle, and I felt like I was being used, and I wasn't being appreciated for who I was. And at the same time, I was doing some shitty stuff as well. I was acting out, and I was a little codependent, I would say. I Just like my friends were using me, I was kind of using them at the same time, and I thought that it was okay because I let them use me. But yeah, let's get into it. Uh, the next game we are going to talk about is Dream Drop Distance. And I did play Recoded between these two games, but it didn't mean much to me, so I rushed through it. And so we're just going to skip right to Dream Drop. I was 17 when I played this game. Then the last game I got to play with the real Sora before this was Chain of Memories, where he ends up falling asleep at the end. And it only seems fitting that the next game I play as Sora is focused on dreams. After all, I was still in the middle of my own sleep. I was sleeping inside myself, using medication and my friends to keep myself from looking at my past trauma. I was living in a dream world of my own creation, refusing to see myself for who I truly was. The game begins with Sora and Riku already in the dream world. Their goal was to seal the 7 sleeping keyholes. Immediately, however, Sora begins falling into Xehanort's trap. With each keyhole sealed, he falls deeper and deeper into the trap. As for myself, I was falling deeper and deeper into the illusion that I created. The first keyhole Sora sealed was back on Destiny Island, his childhood home. And this is where I began to fall into the trap. This is where I also started to fall into my illusion, my childhood. The first step I took into the illusion was my original trauma, the sexual abuse that my grandparents put me through when I was such a little boy. The second keyhole sealed is that of Traverse Town. In the original Kingdom Hearts game, Traverse Town is the first world that Sora finds himself in after losing his childhood home. Traverse Town is the next step after Sora's initial trauma. If you remember previously, I talked about how the original Kingdom Hearts game went hand in hand with my step into repression. That was my second step into illusion, the choice to repress the trauma that I had happen to me. Sometimes memories just need a little help getting out. The third keyhole Sora sealed is in the Hunchback of Notre Dame world. The story of this world is the story of a man who sees himself as a freak. Quasimodo believes he is a monster, deformed and ugly. Quasimodo has been raised and manipulated by Frollo, a gross old man, since his childhood. These self-defeating thoughts were put there through the abuse. I can never speak well. I think that's just going to be one of the things in my videos. You're always going to hear me messing up on words because talking to people, fuck, that's intense. That's hard to do, talking to people. Alright, let's get back into it. The self-defeating thoughts that were put there in Quasimodo's head were from the abuse that Frollo forced him through. You can't let your heart be a prison. That, all the time, All that time, Quasimodo let himself be trapped inside the nightmares Frollo gave him. This very much mirrored what I was going through during Kingdom Hearts 2. This was my third step into illusion, the belief that I was a freak. I believed that I was a freak, and I received a false diagnosis of bipolar disorder because of it. Hypocrite, are you hypocrite, you are the one who has made your heart a prison. I don't know who says that. I think it's Ansem. It could be Young Xehanort. It's probably more, I think it's Young Xehanort now that I think of it. So he didn't have that deep of a voice, but whatever. We're going to go along with it. The fourth keyhole Sora seals in the Tron world is in the Tron world. Sora had met Tron previously in Kingdom Hearts 2. In that game, Sora and Tron worked together to become friends. This time around, Tron is reprogrammed. Tron ends up fighting Sora. The story of this world revolves around the concept of reprogramming. And the fourth step I took into the world of illusion also had to do with reprogramming. Only I wasn't reprogrammed with data, I was reprogrammed with the use of psychiatric medications so that I wouldn't have to remember my trauma. That's what we do. We put the most precious memories in the back of our minds where they're safe. What if my memories aren't my own? No, maybe we're walking the wrong path, but our hearts will lead us back to the truth. The fifth keyhole Sora seals is in the Pinocchio world. We enter the world at the point where Pinocchio has already been tricked into going to the amusement park where the boys are turned into donkeys. I'm sorry, Jiminy. I was going to school until I met somebody. During Sora's time in this world, he does his best to track down Pinocchio, while Pinocchio plays tricks on Sora. Pinocchio was told to play these tricks by Xehanort. This whole world revolves around Pinocchio putting his trust in the wrong people. My fifth step into illusion was also to trust the wrong people. The friends I was mentioning while writing about in 358.5 days were not healthy for me. They pushed me far past my limits. They asked me for more than I could handle, and they didn't have the ability to give me what I was doing my best to give them. I was still friends with all these people when I was playing Dream Drop. I still couldn't see that I was in a toxic relationship with them. I still continued trying my best to please them every day, and I couldn't see that I was just as toxic as anyone else. Nose itches. Weird, itching your nose on camera. It's like, you get self-conscious about it. It's in the back of your mind, and you think, should I itch my nose? Everyone will see me itch my nose. Oh my god, everyone's gonna see me itch my nose. Oh my god, everyone's hearing me talk about my traumas from my past. And then, social anxiety just kicks in and shit like that. Because the brain doesn't stop. Brain doesn't stop. The sixth keyhole that Sora seals is in the Three Musketeers world. Mickey warns Sora not to join them because it could be dangerous. And Sora replies, when the going gets tough, the tough call their friends. This to me is a great example of how Sora is willing to put himself in harm's way for the people he cares about. Halfway through this level, Donald and Goofy end up ditching Mickey and leaving him in this dangerous place. This is similar to something that happened between my friends and I at the time. All for one and one for all. I had given my friends everything that I could, and it seems they couldn't give me anything more either. They kept asking for more. Yeah, I had given my friends everything I could, and it seemed that they couldn't give anything more to me either. They kept asking me for more, and I began cutting myself as a way of dealing with that pain and pressure I was feeling. I kept asking for more, but they didn't have anything to give. It started out as only cutting myself every once in a while, but it built up to become an addiction, and I felt I needed to fill it every day. I got addicted to self-harm. I was always there to talk to my friends when they needed someone to talk to, but no one had the ability to be there for me. It was too much pressure for them. So I was left alone, in a dangerous place, with no one I could talk to about this new addiction. The addiction to self-harm was my sixth step into illusion. I want to stop for a minute and just say that I don't blame my friends for not being able to be there for me. At the time, I was upset. At the time, I was pissed off at them, and it ruined our friendship. Both sides were being ruined in a different way. But now that I'm older and I look back, I don't blame them for not being able to be there for me. I know that it was a lot. I know that it's not something that they could have handled. Um, they were only kids, and I was only a kid. We were 17 years old. So, I don't know if they ever do see this video or anything. I'm sorry, guys. I I was obviously I had my reasons for ignoring my traumas and being an ass, but I was being an ass. I was being selfish, and I didn't even realize it. The final keyhole that Sora seals is in the Fantasia world. So easily you slink into the depths of slumber. It's a beautiful world, isn't it? This is one of the most beautiful worlds in the series, in my opinion at least. Xehanort seems to agree. Sora finds himself in a world full of music and imagination, walking through vineyards, clearing up the rain and storms as he made his way through. As I was playing through this game, I also took my final step into the world of illusion. I began drinking heavily in an attempt to clear the storms that were building in my own mind. Whenever and wherever I could get my hands on alcohol, I would drink. This is the first time doing an illegal drug since I put my had been put on psychiatric medications to begin with. The alcohol helped me feel beautiful inside, like nothing was wrong. But then when the next day would come, I would need to drink again if I wanted to feel okay. As I kept drinking, I continued cutting myself, and I became more and more unstable. As Sora finishes sealing the final keyhole, he is supposed to find himself back in the real world. Instead, he finds himself in the world that never was. He is still in the dream. He runs deeper and deeper into the dream, eventually finding himself trapped in a darkness he could not wake up from. I had also found myself an illusion that I could not wake up from. My mind was so clouded from everything I had been through. I had been traumatized by my grandparents. I denied my own trauma every step of the way. I was mislabeled as bipolar. I was put on medications which kept me from seeing the truth. I put all my hope and love into friends that no longer wanted anything to do with me. I was addicted to self-harm, and I began drinking every chance I could get. I couldn't take it anymore. Every day felt like living hell. I didn't want to live anymore. So one night, I cut my wrists and I tried to die. Obviously, I was unsuccessful. I couldn't save myself. Obviously, I was unsuccessful, but I couldn't save myself. And Sora couldn't save himself either. We both needed the help of friends. Sora had Riku to help free him. Sorry, I'm getting emotional talking about this subject. We both needed the help of friends. Sora had Riku to help free him, but when Sora returned to the real world, he had lost all of his strength and power. I had my parents to help me, but I lost all of my strength and power too. I got taken out of school, I was kept under a 24/7 watch for a while, and I ended up cutting contact with everyone I thought I was friends with. I still consider this to be the hardest year of my life. It's the most blurry and confusing time to look back at, even now. But there was one thing I knew. Everything I had done, every step I had taken, and all the progress I thought I had made for myself would need to start again from scratch. Yeah. So that feeds into the next section about birth by sleep, and I will read that during this video. But I just want to take a second to stop and talk about funky hair today. No, not about my funky hair. It's about trying to kill myself. Yeah, that was a hard scenario. I was on a lot of drugs at the time, and I think that those drugs had a heavy part in trying to kill myself. I can't really remember the night too well, but I think I did some bad things to my friends that night. Like, I think I was kind of gaslighting them a little bit. I didn't realize I was at the time. I just felt like I needed somebody there with me, and I was begging for it. And when everyone turned away, I felt like I couldn't stand being with myself. And it's weird because I remember it differently than my parents remember it. I remember laying in my bed and cutting my wrists. And my parents remember it differently. They say that I went to the shower and I came out of the shower and I was naked and wet and bleeding and crying. And I don't know which one is the truth. You know, I don't remember the way that they described it. I don't remember that happening. But I do remember being on the couch afterwards. I don't remember how I got to the couch though. Maybe that was all the drugs that was clouding my mind, but it was a very strange scenario. Um, yeah, I'm very emotional talking about it. I'm not sure how to talk about it. I'm not sure exactly what to say, so maybe I should just continue on to the next section for now. Birth by Sleep. I played Birth by Sleep when I was 18, and I will write more about Terra and Aqua later, but for now I just want to focus on the story of Ventus and what it represents to me. Ventus begins this game without being able to remember anything about his past or who he is. He has gone through some radical changes in his life, which he doesn't have the ability to process at the time, and instead he chooses to enjoy his time being a kid with his friends. I was also going through some radical changes in my life at this time. As I just said, I had cut contact with all my friends, and when I did try to reconnect, there were only 2 people that still wanted to be my friends. That was C and R, my childhood friends. Thank you guys. I'm still very grateful that these 2 friends have been a part of my life. I had just graduated from high school and was expected to get a job soon, while also starting up courses at community college. A year before I had tried to die, but now I was alive. I was going to therapy. I wasn't drinking or cutting myself anymore. I wasn't spending time with people who brought out my toxic side anymore. C and R were much more accepting and much less demanding than the other friends I had made. Things were starting to feel a little bit better, and I just wanted to enjoy the time I had to be a kid with my friends. Therapy did help a lot during the time. So I guess that's one thing I would like to share. If any of you are in a place where you feel like you have a desire to self-harm or do something more drastic than that, if you don't have a therapist, please search one out, because it helps a lot just having someone who will listen to you and accept you for who you are and not judge you. Ventus was feeling very positive at the beginning of the game. He lived in a very safe place with people who loved him. Then, one day, those people, Aqua and Terra, decided to leave. On the same day they decided to leave, a masked boy appears to Ventus and to taunt him. You'll never know the truth unless you go out and look for it yourself. Come on, what could you possibly know when you're stuck here looking at nothing except for what's in your tiny little world? And so Ventus decided to leave on his own in search of those answers. I had begun to feel safe. I knew I had a lot of work to do for myself, but I also believed I had all the time in the world to do that work. That is, until one day when my parents decided to get a divorce. I realized I couldn't rely on them for stability. Both of my parents needed to find their own path, and so did I. I was still taking psychiatric medications for bipolar at the time. They were still clouding my mind so much. I realized I would never be able to hold a job or take school seriously if I were on those medications. Going to school and getting a job was something I would need to do if I couldn't rely on my parents anymore. The only logical conclusion I could come up with would be to start coming off my pills. I was on fairly high doses of 3 different pills, and it's dangerous to come off those sort of things immediately. So I decided to wean myself off, one by one, and the process took a whole year. Ventus leaving home felt very symbolic of me coming off my medications. The first medication I came off was my anti-anxiety medication. Next was my antidepressant, and last was my mood stabilizer. It was a very painful and difficult year, full of withdrawals and migraines. To help me through this time, I began using marijuana. I feel like marijuana is far less debilitating than most prescription psychiatric medications. The prescription medications mostly blocked my emotions and created a haze in my head, where marijuana did the opposite. It helped me get more in tune with my emotions and helped me to clearly focus on them and realize the reasons behind them. Actually, I'm going to stop for a second and just explain something to you guys. I've studied slightly the way that things like antidepressants work in your mind compared to things like marijuana. And I'm not saying marijuana is perfect for everyone, but I do think that marijuana is beneficial for people with post-traumatic stress disorder. Because I think what happens is, for those with post-traumatic stress disorder, I think it's their amygdala that the energy in their amygdala rises when they go into panic, and the energy in their hypothalamus lowers. And hypothalamus is all about thinking things out and seeing things rationally, and then the amygdala is more about I could be completely wrong about this stuff. I'm not a scientist, you guys. But there's one part of your brain that is about thinking rationally, and then there's another part of your brain that is about reacting to things. And people with PTSD, their reaction part is really strong, and their ability to think through things rationally becomes lowered. It becomes kind of disabled in a way. And so what marijuana does is it brings down your reactivity and raises your ability to think about things. And this is what I needed. I really feel like I needed this to help me look at my emotions. Because whenever I would look at these traumas that happened before, I would get so full of fear and anxiety, and my heart would race, and I'd want to cut myself. I would want to take drugs. And I mean worse drugs than marijuana. But then when I would smoke and I would talk about these things, I would smoke and I would sit and write them out. Once I smoked, I could write out all of my traumas, and I wrote pages on it. And I could think about it. I could meditate. And then I noticed that after a while of working on it like this, I was able to actually start talking about my traumas sober. Like this, what I'm doing right here, talking to you guys about these traumas, and reading what I've written to you guys about my traumas, I would not have been able to do this if I didn't have pot to help me get to this stage. And I'm not stoned right now. I smoked a little last night, but I'm not stoned at the moment. I'm not high. I haven't smoked anything today. I still think that the universe is calling me to come off pot, and I am working towards that. But I also I want to make that clear to people. Like, sometimes the doctors tell you one thing, and I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't listen to doctors, but with psychiatric doctors, there's a lot that they don't understand about the human brain. And they want to believe that they do. And so they'll put you on these medications, and they will raise and lower the doses depending on what they think is best for you. But sometimes it's not all that good for you. The medications that doctors have put me on over the years, every single one of them felt it harmed me. Where I have never felt that way with pot. Even with my worst experiences with marijuana, I have been able to tell myself, this is temporary, and once you wake up tomorrow, you're going to feel better. And it's true. I do. I just don't feel like marijuana harms me in the same way that antidepressants and antipsychotics and anti-anxiety and mood stabilizers, all of those affect me more harshly than marijuana. Alright, there's my little rant. I'm going to go back to the story then. The masked boy kept appearing to Ventus. Each time he would taunt and threaten him. As I came off my medications, my nightmares started again, almost as if they were taunting me. This time, there was nothing to hold them back. This time, I did nothing to hide from these visions. Slowly, I started to realize they weren't nightmares at all. They were memories. They were a piece of myself that I was missing. Just the sight of Xehanort sends Ventus into remembering his past. You had to lose in order to find. Now it can all be yours again, if you only reach out and take it. Reclaim the part that left you. Xehanort urges Ventus to remember his past. When Ventus meets the masked boy again, he finally remembers the full truth. Ventus remembers about the tests and trials that Xehanort put him through. He remembered failing. He remembered falling due to the darkness, and that Xehanort forced upon him. Sorry, I'm getting emotional still. I don't express it through my face, I think. I don't really express it like that. But I feel it inside, and my words get jumbled when I get emotional. Ventus remembers about the tests and trials that Xehanort would put him through. He remembered falling due to the darkness that Xehanort forced upon him, and he remembered having half of his heart stolen from him by Xehanort. This is where the masked boy comes from. The masked boy is Vanitas, the other half of Ventus's heart. Ventus travels to the Keyblade graveyard, ready to confront Vanitas. Ventus is finally ready to confront his past and to confront himself. He's finally ready to accept these things, no matter what ends up happening to him. All these memories of my grandparents and the traumas they put me through, it was as if they were taunting me and beckoning me. I had a choice to make. Do I keep running from my past, or do I finally decide to accept the truth? I couldn't keep running. I was finally ready to accept it. I was finally ready to accept what had happened to me. I was raped. There's nothing I can do to express the pain that I went through, finally admitting this fact to myself. I had something precious taken from me. My heart had been split in two. I was raped. I have accepted it. That seems like a good place to end here for now, you guys. It still feels weird to say I was raped. And what's weirder is just how long I kept that from everybody. But I feel like it explains so much about my personality. So much about why I get frustrated when I get frustrated, the things I'm able to handle and the things I'm not. And I don't know, dude, it's weird. Honestly, some of my earliest memories are of being raped. Like, I remember that before I remember most of the things that have brought me joy in my life. And, yeah. How do you move past that? You know, it's like every child is supposed to have this like steady base to grow off of, and then they grow up out of it like a flower or something, right? But what if you don't have a steady base? What if your steady base was trauma? Just steady trauma for years. How do you grow into a flower? Might sound a little silly, I don't know. I feel it though. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end here for now. I'm having a blank. My head is going a little numb, and I think I don't want to force myself to keep talking about it if it's making me uncomfortable. But I'm still proud of myself for sharing these things and putting them out there. Next time I make a video, I'll be going through my replay of the series. And so it'll be a little bit different because these first 3 videos were about my initial experiences with the games and what I was going through during the times that I played them. So they were a lot about the traumas that I went through. And these next videos, the replay videos, are going to be more about processing those traumas and growing. And I think that the series will take a shift in tone, and it'll get a little bit more positive from here on out. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you are finding something of value in this. I appreciate any of you watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye.